The insights we can derive from a knowledge of the Tunguska event can peel back the veil on mysteries long forgotten or consigned to the religious fringe, and therefore ignored by science. But like geomythology, astromythology is now being recognized by serious researchers as a legitimate area of inquiry. And it is here that the Tunguska event can open the door to a deeper understanding of ancient traditions of apocalypse, eschatology, and prophecy. So with this in mind, let's take a deeper look into this event through the eyes and ears of those who experienced it firsthand. The principal inhabitants of the region of the Tunguska event are the Evenki people, formerly known as the Tungus, that is, people who spoke the Tungusic languages. The word Tungus was originally Russian and came to apply to a major river system in the region. It is probable that Tungusi or Evenki people originally emigrated from the Russian Far East in the area now known as Manchuria. Many of the following eyewitness accounts that I'm going to quote are from the work of Yevgeny Krinov, a Russian astronomer and geologist who authored the 1966 book Giant Meteorites. From the years 1926 through 1930, Krinov carried out research into the Tunguska cosmic event while working with the Meteor Division of the Mineralogy Museum of the Soviet Academy of Sciences. Working under the supervision of Leonid Kulik, who we talked about in the previous episode, part 1 of this, Krinov participated in an expedition to the Tunguska site between 1929 and 1930. So for more background and context, go back and rewatch Squaring the Circle episode 10 if you need to. The quest to solve the mystery of the Tunguska cosmic event began with a letter sent to Kulik by a certain Volozhin, dated the 21st of November, 1921, as quoted in Krinov. Quote, "The Evenki people, who were camping on the Podkamennaya Tunguska, describe how strong air pressure laid low a strip of forest and killed several reindeer belonging to one of the Evenki, Ivan Ilya Potapovich." Kulik received another letter, dated the 2nd of February, 1924, from Sobolev, a geologist with the Krasnoyarsk Museum. In this letter, Sobolev relates the account of Ilya Potapovich as told to him in 1923. This letter increased Kulik's desire to find the site. So, quoting now from this letter, 15 years ago, his brother, that is, the brother of Ilya Potapovich, who was a Tungus and could speak a little Russian, lived on the river Shambay. One day, a terrible explosion occurred, the force of which was so great that the forest was flattened for many versts along both banks of the river Shambay. A verst, I will mention, is about 3,500 feet, a little bit more than a kilometer. His brother's hut was flattened to the ground, its roof was carried away by the wind, and most of his reindeer fled in fright. The noise deafened his brother, and the shock caused him to suffer a long illness. In the flattened forest, at one spot, a pit was formed from which a stream flowed into the river Shambay. The Tunguska Road had previously crossed this place, but it was now abandoned because it was blocked, impassable, and moreover, the place aroused terror among the Tungusi people. End of quote. Note the interesting detail about the forming of a pit from which a stream discharged. Also, the psychological reaction among the Tungusi people. The sound of the explosion must indeed have been terrifying, given that it was so loud that the brother of Ilya Potapovich went deaf. The next quote is from a newspaper article by Ponomarov reporting from the village of Nizhny Ilimsk. And it was quoted again in Krinov, the book Giant Meteorites. Quote, "At 7:20 a.m., a mighty noise was heard, resolving into thundercracks. Although the sky was cloudless at the time, the noise caused houses to shake. Many inhabitants saw a fiery body like a beam shoot from south to northwest above the ground before they heard the thunder. Immediately afterwards, the bang was heard, and in the place where the fiery body had disappeared, a tongue of fire appeared, followed by smoke." End of quote. As you hear these accounts, take special note of the descriptors that are employed to describe the phenomena experienced by the eyewitnesses. The next quote is from the newspaper Krasnoyarets, dated July 13th, 1908, again reprinted in Krinov's book, Giant Meteorites. From the village Kazhimsk, the 17th, now I will mention this was the old calendar that was in use at the time in 1908. The date of June 17th coincides to the date of June 30th in the Gregorian calendar, which actually we are now recording this on the 29th of June, so tomorrow will actually be the anniversary of this event. June 30th is also the day that we recognize Asteroid Day, which is now a date chosen by astronomers to commemorate the Tunguska event of June 8th, 1908. So, in the from the village Kazhimsk, we quote, "An extraordinary atmospheric phenomena was noticed in this region. At 7:43 a.m., a noise as a strong wind was heard, followed immediately by a fearful crash, accompanied by a subterranean shock which caused buildings to tremble. One had the impression that some huge beam or heavy stone had possibly struck the building. This was followed by two further, equally forceful blows. The interval between the first and the third blows was accompanied by an extraordinary underground roar, like the sound of a number of trains passing simultaneously over rails, and then, for 5 or 6 minutes, followed by a sound like artillery fire. Between 50 and 60 bangs, becoming gradually fainter, the ground trembled." End of quote. As eyewitnesses relate, before the first bangs were heard, a heavenly body out of a fiery appearance cut across the sky from south to north, inclined to the northeast. Neither its size nor shape could be made out owing to its speed, and particularly its unexpectedness. However, many people in different villages distinctly saw that when the flying object touched the horizon, a huge flame shot up that cut the sky in two. The glow was so strong that it was reflected in rooms whose windows faced north. Apparently, the glow continued for at least a minute, since many peasants in the fields noticed it. The bangs were heard as soon as the tongue of flame disappeared. On the island opposite the village, horses began to whinny and cows to low and run wildly about. One had the impression that the earth was just about to gape open and everything would be swallowed up in the abyss. Fearful bangs resounded from somewhere, shaking the earth, and the invisibility of the source inspired a kind of superstitious terror. People were literally dumbfounded. End of quote.